Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to the launch of Twisted Travels, Rambles in Central Europe.
My name is Evan,
And I'm Alan.
and we're from Jessica's reading group Bibliophibians.
Well, technically, this is the 13th Twisted book, but since the others are all out of print, right now it's the only Twisted book. Yeah.
So before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the presence of Benjamin Ziga from the Embassy of the Czech Republic in the Philippines and the board. Vice Consul from the Embassy of the Republic of Hungary in the Philippines.
Ambassador Jerusalem Olsha can join us today because he had some urgent business in Prague.
Twisted Travels is supported by Discover, Central Europe, and the embassies of the Czech Republic, Hungary, and Poland.
Okay. So representing Central Europe today is Miss Joanna Waszywska, Charge d'Affaires of the Embassy of Poland here in Manila. If you could give us a few words, please.
Jona Pok. Dobre dopoledne. Dzień dobry. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all here on behalf of three embassies, Czech, Hungarian and Polish. All three European countries that are so different from each other and yet very similar as they have been influencing each other for centuries. Thanks to Jessica's talent, Central Europe just became closer to the Philippines. And I am sure that this book will strengthen your appetite to visit this maybe less traveled part of Europe. This book would not happen without one person, of course apart from Jessica, but one person who could not be here today. I'd like to thank Ambassador Jaroslav Olsha for making this happen. And I encourage you to read the book and to visit Central Europe. Dziękuję. Köszönöm. Dziękuję.
If the author needed no introduction, we would not have to be here.
So guys, here's Jessica. That one's better.
Hi, thanks very much.
Hello?
Thank you very much for coming. I know what kind of hell traffic is on Saturday. So I want to talk about how this book came to be. Everyone, please shut up. I am speaking. Okay, was this the best piece of writing advice I ever got was from Graham Greene, one of my favorite authors. He said that if you write 1,000 words a day, your books will take care of themselves. So since college, I have been churning out 1,000 words a day. And then later I found out that the exact code is if you write 500 words a day, which means I'm well ahead and I can take a vacation for several years. Anyway, so because I write 1,000 words a day, and I keep journals, and I travel a lot, I have all these unpublished books, okay? And last year, I was cleaning my files, and I realized I had enough material for another travel book, because the first travel book came out something like 15 years ago, around 9/11. Anyway, so I put it together, and we had just shot 6 episodes of my travel show with Pepe Jokno in the Czech Republic, and I mentioned it to Ambassador Olsha, who is a great promoter of Philippine and Czech literature. He has sponsored the translation of a lot of Filipino works into Czech and a lot of Czech works into Filipino. And one of the stories that he has yet to translate belongs to me. But anyway, we were having lunch in his favorite Thai restaurant. I don't know why he doesn't go to Czech restaurants. He always goes to Thai restaurants. And I mentioned that I had enough material for a travel book. He said, is Central Europe in there? I said, well, the Czech Republic, and I've been to Budapest. And he said, then it should be about about Central Europe. I said, but what about, Japan, the UK? He said, never mind. Just make it about Central Europe. And he said, have you been to Poland? I said, I've never been to Poland, I've been wanting to go. He said, let me introduce you to the people who are reorganizing the Polish embassy in Manila. And so we met, and then off I go to Poland, which was the last part of the trip, and also a great learning experience because it was not at all what I had expected, and at the same time, spelling has always been one of my mutant powers because I was in the spelling bee. But Polish spelling makes me feel like a complete idiot. Okay? These people have not heard of vowels. I think of the Polish language as the opposite of Tagalog because Tagalog is all vowels and they don't have any. So I feel that if Tagalog and Polish should get together, we can take over the entire world. So thank you very much for coming. Shall I read from the book? Sure. Yeah, I'd like to read a short section from the book. So, since Ambassador Osha is not here, I will read from the Poland chapter. One of the places that I went to in Poland was Krakow, which is the traditional capital. It's a beautiful place. It's one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been to, and I will channel Ambassador Osha saying, wow, is it nicer than Prague? Here, in Krakow, one of the places we visited was an underground city sculpted out of salt, basically. And this is the first part of the visit to the salt mine. Anyway, on the first Sunday after May 8th, his feast day, Krakow turns out for the procession in honor of its patron, Saint Stanislaus. Bishops, priests, devotees in ceremonial garb walk from Wawel Cathedral, where the saint's relics are kept, to Skałka, the church on the rock where the saint was murdered by the king. Bozena, my tour guide and personal patron of Krakowian knowledge, I have to say, Polish tour guides know everything. They're amazing, as in from history to food. Filled me in on the saint's history. Stanislaus, born in 1030, was one of the first native bishops. He encouraged the king, Boleslav the Bold, to build Benedictine monasteries around the kingdom. The two men first fell out over a piece of land. Stanislaus had bought the property for the diocese from a man named Piotr, who died 3 years later. Piotr's heirs disputed the sale and wanted the land back. The king ruled in their favor. Stanislaus then asked for 3 days to produce a witness. As the lone witness was the late Piotr, his request was met with laughter, but granted anyway. Bishop Stanislaus went into seclusion to pray, and on the 3rd day, he led a procession to the cemetery where Piotr was buried. There he had Piotr's grave dug up, then he bade the dead man rise. Piotr rose from the dead, in what physical condition is unclear, and accompanied Stanislaus to court to give testimony. Before King Boleslav, Piotr scolded his heirs and affirmed the sale to the bishop. What could Boleslav the Bold do but hand down a verdict in Stanislaus' favor? The bishop asked Piotr if he wanted to remain alive, but Piotr probably considered the aggravation of dealing with his sons and decided that he wanted to stay dead. He was then reburied, if only court cases were as easy. The fatal falling out between Stanislaus and Boleslav occurred after a war with Ruthenia, now the Ukraine. Stanislaus condemned the king for his harsh treatment of his people, or for immoral conduct, or else Stanislaus was in league with conspirators who wanted to unseat the king. The bishop excommunicated the king, who then pronounced the bishop a traitor and sent knights to kill him as he said mass at Skałka. When the knights could not bring themselves to commit murder in church, Boleslav drew his sword himself. The king's guards dismembered Stanislaus' body and left the pieces to be eaten by wild beasts. But the pieces miraculously reconnected and were guarded by eagles. The guilty Boleslav fled the country and was replaced by his brother. Stanislaus was named a saint. His story gained a special power in Poland during the partitions. The faithful believed that, like their patron saint, their dismembered nation would become whole again. And by the way, Poland did regain its independence, and next week we are celebrating the 100th year of Polish independence. So, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Jessica.
And for the final remarks, we'd like to call Peter Ramirez, the publisher and entrepreneur of this print.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank all of you for taking the time to attend our event this Saturday. I'd also like to thank Ms. Jessica Zafra for trusting Visprint to publish her second travel memoir. The embassies of Poland, of Czech Republic, and of Hungary, thank you very much for the support that you have given this book and Jessica's travel. We'll have some, those of you who haven't had their book signed yet, you can call in line, and then in a bit we'll have, I think we'll also have some pizza. Yes. Thank you very much.
Can I see some more? By the way, I forgot to mention that all my manuscripts are handwritten. So when I submitted them to Nida at Visprint, she had to get interns to transcribe. But then, I have beautiful serial killer handwriting, which she then had to have encoded. So thanks very much for coming, and please have your book signed. And if you want to have more books signed, feel free to buy 100 more copies. Thank you.
Mark's there. Thank you.
So,
That's it for our program.
and you can take lots of pictures. Obviously, it's a social media age, so please, when you post on Instagram, Facebook, or wherever, use hashtag Jessica Zafra, hashtag Twisted Travels, hashtag Visprint.
And also, we're going to put you on my cat's Instagram.
Some of you already are, because we did Instagram live earlier. So that's it for the short program, and have some more canapes, Czech beer, Polish vodka, and again, don't forget, buy more copies of the books and have them signed. Thank you, everyone.